repetition, but I'll escape some of it. And I'll be showing what exactly we are doing in India at the micro level. So we need to have a both, understanding and analysis of the climate change impact at the global level, at the regional level, at the country level, and at the micro level. Because unless we do not do that, we cannot go for better development or cannot achieve any sustainable development goal in a better way. So I'll speak on some general issues which will just to sensitize you on the issues that has already been deliberated. But maybe I'm sure that I'll add something new to you. So if I talk on some introductory points, and I say that urban vulnerability and resilience. So what we say human population and explosive growth. That has been rightly demonstrated by Alex in earlier lecture that population growth is everywhere. And population growth is but natural. But only issue is that where all they are distributed, what is density of population and so and so. So, and then when we see the population explosion and population growth, human needs are unlimited, but resources are limited. We all know theoretically, we as a student, we have studied, we are teaching, but we do not feel concerned about it. Okay, resources are limited. We use water like anything. We use electricity like anything, So that is an important issue that one need to understand. We talk about sustainability, but we do not feel concerned about sustainability. So human needs are unlimited. I do not see that it is a need. Need tak to theek hai. I'll speak something on Hindustani में भी, because Alex cannot speak, but I can speak. तो हिंदुस्तानी में मैं बोलूँगा तो अच्छा रहेगा. So हमारी need नहीं है, हमारी greed है. Greed भी नहीं है, greed के आगे कहीं और है. That is very sad part of it. इसको सोचना समझना चाहिए. हर आदमी कहता है अल्लाह का शुक्र है दाल रोटी के काम चल रहा है, लेकिन उसके आगे दिन रात लगा हुआ है फॉर राइट एंड लेफ्ट, सही और गलत. प्लीज बियर विद मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग. तो हम कहने को डायलॉग खूब बोलते हैं, लेकिन चीजों को वी डू नॉट फील कंसर्न अबाउट. तो नीड तो ठीक है, एवरीबडी बेसिक नीड चाहिए, बेसिक के ऊपर चला जाए वो भी ठीक है. आपके पास आप कहोगे एक नौकरी मिल जाए, नौकरी मिलने के बाद उसे कि कहीं और अच्छी नौकरी मिल जाए, चलो ठीक है अच्छी नौकरी मिल गई, देन यू लुक फॉर द हाउस. ऑब्वियसली यू नीड अ शेल्टर. अब शेल्टर हो गया तो एक हो गया, फिर दूसरा नोएडा में ले लो, तीसरा जो है ग्रेटर नोएडा में ले लो, और फिर और पैसे आए तो देन यू गो टू हिल्स. एंड दैट इज सीरियस इशू कि नैनीताल में मकान हो गया, फिर और पैसे हुए तो दुबई में जाके मकान ले लो, पाम जुमेरा. सो दीज आर द इश्यूज, तो द पॉइंट व्हाट आई एम मेकिंग इज दैट that human needs are unlimited, but resources are limited. There's a big dichotomy between these two, and we need to understand, we need to make the balance in it. And how to make the balance, that is the most important issue. All these researches will be meaningless unless a person, a common person do not understand it. Then only we can achieve lot many more things what we are talking about. Then the third point is that global connectivity, faster and economic growth. Global connectivity is very fast. If we talk about India, in 1991, that was the period when the liberalization and globalization started. When the P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister, and Manmohan Singh was one of the finest politician and academician. He was the one, and at another helm, if you remember, Mantek Singh Ahluwalia was a Deputy Chairman Planning Commission, Niti Aayog. So these are the three key players. In fact, two. They were the one who made it, connectivity and globalization and liberalization and privatization. All these three P what we talk about. So ये तीनों P बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं. But if we talk about the nature, when we talk about the environment, when we talk about the climate change, तो फिर बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, right? So इससे faster जो हम कभी 24 घंटे में पहुंचते थे, अब 4 घंटे में क्या 2 घंटे में पहुंच जाते हैं. Everybody is flying. बहुत अच्छा लगता है. But there is a big but in that. कि उससे नुकसान क्या है वो, that is issue that one need to understand. Then the fourth point what we say is the role of technology and engineering. बहुत अच्छा लगता है, and we always talk about technology. But I see as a student of geography that technology has adverse impact on the nature. And I teach with my student with examples. You are not my student, but you are the faculty member, your colleagues of us. You are doing good work that you used to do. So if I give an example of, say, the role of technology engineering, that plays a very serious threat to the nature. And the most important resource is the water. That is called elixir of life. You get everything, but if you do not get water, what Alex has showed in a earlier slide, right from South Africa to other parts of the world, the water crisis, what is going to be finished. I was seeing in Afghanistan, there is no water. There is at many localities there is no water, even a liter of water. So what we have, if you talk about the water, if we go back to your olden days, in the villages, in the cities, there was a hand pump, and we fetch water from the hand pumps. Then the technology comes in. Tulu pumps was invented, and we used to pump water from the wastewater and store in the house overhead tanks. Then further, building the height has gone up, 5 story, 7 story, 10 story with urbanization and built up into. So what has happened? You need to pump little bit up. Then what they had a jet pump, bigger motor. Then after that, it further fails. Water level has gone down. Then you got the submersible pump. We have further gone down. So that is the technology. So in that way, technology plays a negative role. हिंदी में बताएं हम लोग जब छोटे थे, घर में कोई कहता था बेटा एक बाल्टी पानी भर दो, तो आधा बाल्टी पानी भर के भाग जाते थे, मेहनत लगती थी. एंड टुडे व्हाट इज हैपनिंग कि आपने स्विच ऑन किया, पानी चढ़ा जा रहा है ऊपर, फ्लो कर रहा है, 10 मिनट में पानी भर गया, 2 घंटे पानी इज फ्लोइंग आउट. The potable good quality of water is going to the drain. So that is a serious issue that one need to understand. तो वो important है. Then इस तरह से बहुत सारे example हो सकते हैं. Then nature environment is under attack. If you talk about entire earth, you take any part of the world, that is going to be impacted. What Alex has showed, different parts of the world, what is happening. Then the last point, there is uncertain future of the planet earth, especially in the urban areas. We look for the certainty of ourselves. We look for the future of our children, our grandchildren. हम आप देखते हैं कि हमारे जनरेशन दर जनरेशन के पास पैसे रहे, प्रॉपर्टी रहे, जमीन रहे, but we do not look for the mother land, the earth. That is the most important. We need to see the future of the earth, where we are heading to. Obviously, you built a house, good house, and you spaces and all, but you need to look where all. In what way, in what fashion? That is an important issue that one need to understand. Now, let us say we always say the population is a problem. Yesterday I was saying that population is not a problem. The only issue is that what is the characteristics of the population. Say if I give another example, if a parent has a 4 child, and if they are educated, what Alex was talking, education plays important role in climate change or disaster management. That is proven fact. So if a person who is having 4 child or 6 child, all 4 or 6 boy or girl child are educated, professionally trained, they are asset. They support to the family, they bring earning to the family, and they bring they will add to the economy of the nation and the country. But if they are not trained, if they are not educated, what will happen? What will happen? That will be liability. Liability to the society, liability to the family, and liability to the nation. So it is a duty of the nation what kind of training, what kind of characteristics you are providing. Sarkar ko, I'm not blaming anyone, but my concern is that the government should think on he should provide the education. दिल्ली में देखिए तो आपको प्राइमरी एजुकेशन के लिए 500 सीट है, एप्लीकेशन है 50,000. सरकारी स्कूल उतनी है. Where they are going? Even the today's good thing is that poor people also want to teach, put their word in the good schools. कहीं ना कहीं हो जाए. जब कहीं नहीं होगा तो फिर वो सड़क पे घुस भटकेगा, and then lot of issues will come. So the population is that the characteristics of the population is the most important. जब पेरेंट्स कर सकते हैं, पेरेंट की जिम्मेदारी पहले, एंड देन सरकार की भी जिम्मेदारी है कि गुड हेल्थ एंड गुड एजुकेशन सिस्टम को बिल्ड करें. You see the spending on the infrastructure and health less than 2%, 1%. Who is stopping you to spend on the health and education and infrastructure? No one is stopping, but that is not a priority for many government in many parts of the world. That is serious concern. Now, if we talk about the rural urban population, if I see, so what we see the projection and the future population of by 2030, the rural population is going up, down, and urban population is going up. So if we see this one, if we see the westward, both the growth rate is quite low. But if we see the India's scenario. This is the time somewhere in 2015 or something, the urban population is going up. And I always say that nobody want to live in a rural area. Everybody want to come to the cities. Why? Because of many reasons. One is the economic reason, we all know, and many more things. वहाँ बिजली नहीं है, कोई कारोबार नहीं है, school नहीं है. So that becomes a problem. So that is the urban areas and built up areas which is increasing, and the resource consumption, be it water, be it electricity, that is one of the, an emission from the vehicles, from the, many more things. That is one of the biggest problem that is going to add to the climate change issues. So what we have, if you move on and see, that was a global scenario. Now if we see this one, let us see that was graphical representation, and that is a statistical representation what we have. If you see in 1900, only 15% population, less than 15% population were the urban areas globally. But by 2010, 50% as per United Nations Population Bureau, and more than 60% people will be residing in cities by 2030. That has already been documented by the Alex. If we see the Indian scenario, what we have, in 1951, only 17% population was urban, in 91, 25, and by 2030, 41% population. It is a big thing if you live in the cities in India and any other developing Asian countries, but it is a big thing. It is bad thing if people in Europe and America and Canada, if they live in the cities. They do not want to live in the cities, congested, crowded cities, polluted cities. So that is an issue. So let us focus on the urbanization, state of urbanization. Very good data and presentation has been, slide has been showed by the Alex, but let me put something more to it. Word urbanization. So if you see word urbanization prospect, that a percent of people residing in urban areas, what we see here, that only the Australia and some Europe and Canada people who are living in 75% more population were in urban area. But if you see the India, it was less than 25%. What I showed you, that is spatial representation. By 2018, see the dark patches come, and many parts of the world has come to more than 75% urbanization. Now, if you see by 2050, what is going to happen? That most part of the world, bearing few, Central Africa and other part, rest of the world is going to urbanize. Urbanization is not a bad thing. Urbanization is not a bad thing. But only issue is that how we plan. What is state of urbanization? In cities like Indian cities or many other Asian countries, what we have, these urbanization are unplanned. That is one issue, unplanned. And second more dangerous is the uncontrolled. Uncontrolled and unplanned. And that is the main issue of the many more problem what we see. These are the two issues that one need to understand. This is as per United Nations Economic Affairs Population Data 2018. Now I see the definition of vulnerability, we all know. That has been much talked by Alex, but still a line. Concept of vulnerability originated from social science in response to pure hazard-oriented perception for disaster risk in 1970, somewhere in 1970. In India, it came little late. The degree, if as per UNDRO 1991, the degree of loss at a given element at risk or set of element at risk resulting from occurrence of natural phenomena of a given magnitude expressed on a scale from 0, no damage, to 1, total damage. Right? There are different components of vulnerability: exposure, resistance, resilience. Both vulnerability and resilience are determined by physical environment and social, economic, political, and institutional factors. That has been social vulnerability has been deliberated much in detail, study by Alex. Economic has also been deliberated. So I'll skip all these. The types of vulnerability: physical vulnerability, social and human, and urban vulnerability. That is another very important issue. So I'll be talking on some of the case studies little later on physical vulnerability, social vulnerability that we have done. The group of my research have done. Now the characteristics of vulnerability. One is multi-dimensional. That is very important. Second is dynamic. It keeps on changing with the passage of time, from place to place. That varies. We all know as a student of geography. The scale dependent. That is also many of the scholars was talking about asking the question about the scale and the resolution. So we need to understand. We need to see. We need to assess both at the micro level, at the regional level, at the country level, and depending upon the purpose and need. And then site specific. I was already talked about. Now strategies and tools for urban vulnerability analysis. One is called urban hazards, mapping for mitigation. Second is risk analysis and assessment for cities. Assess and what could be the future scenario. And then long-term strategies, urban planning, zoning. You need to have a long-term perspective plan. It's not that you assess and forget about it. You need to see long-term perspective, no less than 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. You know? And for that, you have to historical data, what Alex presented yesterday. So you need to have a past data, what was the state of affair and what is going to happen if business as usual keep going. And the last is other business continuing planning. Now I'm moving fast because I want to go to my case studies specific, that is more important, but some of it the key aspects of urban vulnerability: exposure, sensitivity, adaptive capacity, and social vulnerability. The third point I would like to highlight is adaptive capacity. We are adapted to it. Somebody asked Alex a question. Alex was talking about PM 2.5. In our olden time when I joined Jamia in 2025 years back, there was a lot of pollution. And at that time the pollution was the SOx, NOx, COX. But it has gone. With the measures and the environment friendly measure that has been CNG and electric vehicle, Alex was talking yesterday. Now the major problem is, what is that? Not carbon dioxide, that is secondary. Nitrogen, what is that? It is a particulate matter. It is a particulate matter, 2.5 and 10. There are different particulate matter, more than 10 particulate matter, but 2.5 and 10 is the most important. We are talking today, when you are talking about air pollution, I'll show some one study we did long back, particulate matter. Why? Because a lot of economic activities has taken place, lot of developmental activities is taking place, lot of construction activities are taking place. And with that, lot of particulate matters. If you go on the roads, what we find? And that is impacting the people. Everyone, elderly, middle age and older age. So that is important issue. But we are adapted to it. If you see any city data, be it Delhi or even a medium-sized city, Lucknow, Patna, or even Ghaziabad, Meerut, everywhere you'll find the air quality index no less than 300 all the year round. Imagine, we are adapted to it. We need more money. We are happy with that, and that is very sad part of it. One need to understand. So adaptive capacity is very strong. What we have. हिंदुस्तानी लोग बहुत स्ट्रांग होते हैं, फिजिकली स्ट्रांग होते हैं, अदरवाइज सो दैट इज वन. हम अडॉप्ट तो कर लिए, बट और लाइफ यू मस्ट स्टडी डिफरेंट रिपोर्ट. द लाइफ ऑफ अर्बन एरियाज is shorter than 8 to 10 years compared to rural areas. So this is one of the very important aspect. Adaptive capacity is good, but it should not be that good कि हमारी life कम हो जाए. Nobody want to die. That is saddest part of life. हर आदमी चाहता है कि 100 साल जिए, but how can we? Unless we do not act and react with our economic activities and on the natural environment. So that is and then the social vulnerability, that has been where we have the poverty, inequality, lack of access to resources, opportunity, and many more things. Now, urban resilience, that is never, urban resilience refers to city's capacity to withstand, adopt, and recover from shocks of stress. Recover from shocks of stress. I'll give you one more example, and there's real example that is happening. When I came to Delhi long back, more than 2 decades back, we used to experience earthquake shocks maybe once a year or twice a year. Now what is he? Every week. Why it is so? Because of what all we are doing. Constructing big houses, disturbing the state of balances. Isostasy बहुत पहले की बात होगी geography में. But ये state of unbalance जो हम create कर रहे हैं, dams से लेके construction से लेके digging the sand blasting and digging the marbles, land for the marbles and all. So that is very important issue. तो ये अच्छा, दूसरा एक चीज है, second important issue is that कि earlier the epicenter were somewhere in the mountains, but now epicenter is in Faridabad, in Gurgaon, in Palwal. That is very sad affair. So one need to understand where we are heading to. So that is adaptive capacity. The urban areas recover from shocks and stress. These are the important issues that one need to understand. I have talked about. Now I'll escape some of that theoretical issue. The livelihood framework for assessing socio-economic vulnerability. This is a livelihood where we have the human capital, social capital, physical capital, financial and all. And in the center what we have? The poor people. Be it urban areas or the rural area, wherever you talk about. That is another state of affairs that one need to understand. Now, urban climate vulnerability assessment framework. In the center, what we have urban climate assessment, there's physical ability, and then there's a bifurcation of population exposure, casualties is reported, city location, and then we have the social vulnerability where the slum pocket upgraded, slums population growth, dependent population, and many more things. So if we have a closer look, he'll get better insight of the urban climate vulnerability assessment. Now let us talk about the power of remote sensing. That is the application aspect that what my research group is doing since last 20 years or so. I'll talking about what are the data sets, satellite data set. I'm sure that most of you must be using it, but to protect those who are not using, because I see the people from different disciplines, and that is the beauty of this course. I was talking in the evening that people from diverse background and diverse disciplines come. And earlier it was the satellite data and GIS that was only associated with the geographers and geologists. Now today everyone is using. Why? Because of one thing, and that is most important. पहले कहते थे geography का कोई subject नहीं important नहीं है, but the GIS and remote sensing given a new boom, new life to the geography. हम बात करते हैं economic growth. Economic growth was 10 digit when Manmohan Singh was a prime minister, and today it is 5.4 and it has gone up even little more than 6.1. I do not see any this 10% and 5.4%, 6%. No big difference. Why? Because that was the figure. One need to see from where it is coming and where it is impacting. जो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ है किस सेक्टर से आ रहा है, एग्रीकल्चर से कितना आ रहा है, इंडस्ट्री से कितना आ रहा है, सर्विसेज से कितना आ रहा है, दैट इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड वेयर इट इज कमिंग, सोशल डायमेंशन, स्पेशल डायमेंशन. हम नेग्लेक्ट करते हैं गांव को, रूरल एरियाज को हम छोड़ देते हैं. वी ऑल नो दैट इफ आई कोट अ स्टैटिस्टिक्स, पहले जो था हमारा 70% ज्यादा आबादी एग्रीकल्चर में इन्वॉल्व थी, and contribution from agriculture was more than 50%. Now about 51% people are engaged in agriculture across India, and economic contribution is 17%. 70%. Imagine, nobody want to do hard work from in agriculture field. So that is a very sad part of it. So what we have then, that is a satellite data. Indian satellite remote sensing program started from 1989, 88, from 1A, 1B, if you see on the top, to the n number of data, satellite data, Cartosat 1 and 2 and all. Now then we have, this is when it was started, I said March 88, mission complete. Then it was 1C, 1D and all. We all know we have the one of the best data set what we have. It is not the Iconos and QuickBird. We do have one of the best data, 3D data as well as the 3D data as well as optical data. Then it was a time when it started the Landsat program way back in 1972. Landsat mission, and we have a series of Landsat satellite data, and we have Landsat 9, the latest data 9, right? And then few years back the Sentinel program, European Agency program came up, and we are getting Sentinel 1, Sentinel 2 data, Sentinel 3, what Alex was talking about. So these data set has made us possible to understand, to map, and to see where all is happening, where it should happen. That is the most important. हमारे यहाँ क्या है, as I was saying, that is unplanned, uncontrolled. जहाँ हमें फ्री की जमीन मिल जाए, जहाँ हम लैंड ग्रैब कर सकते हैं, उसको हम उस पर कोई इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी कर सकते हैं. अपना घर बना लो या कोई बिल्डिंग बना लो, कोई इंडस्ट्री खोल लो. I was working as postdoc long back in 1998 in Germany. There was a colleague of mine in my institute. He was one fine morning, he was annoyed. I asked what happened. Are you ill? He said, no. This stupid fellow is asking, can I build a supermarket on this piece of land? As a consultant, he said, no, you cannot. But after 1 year, after a month or so, he again asked, he looked for some possibility. So that is what is happening there and what is happening here. So these are the important issues. It is a satellite data at a different scale, that different resolution has made us possible to have this. Then we have the commercial, people came into picture. Like what we have, private taxi थी, सरकारी थी, buses सरकारी थे, अब ओला उबर आ गए और उसको हम ज़्यादा यूज करते हैं, right? Then the series of commercial satellite came way back in 1999 with Iconos 0.8 meter data to QuickBird, WorldView 1, 2, 3, WorldView 4, and many more. Now, if we see the details of icons, I will not go to details. These are bands, different bands, blue, green, red, near infrared, panchromatic, and these are resolution 1 meter to 4 meter. And then what we have, what we true data, a better resolution data, what we have. So these are the data sets that made us possible to understand at the micro level, right? Then this is again, this gives you, and another very important issue is that of the pixel, pixel, that is resolution, right from 1 meter to 80 meter, and even more 120 meter SRTM data. Earlier what we used to have a topo sheet data, जहाँ से कंटूर लेते थे उससे हम टोपोग्राफी बनवाते थे एंड 3D मॉडलिंग करते हैं. अभी हम रेडीमेड SRTM डेटा अवेलेबल है, 60 meter, 90 meter, 120 meter. No, the data availability is freely available. And the second most important I would like to highlight is the revisit period, 5 days to 18 days. So if I say the Survey of India, one of the finest agency what we have, all the countries has their survey agency. We do have a Survey of India, and Survey of India ने जो मैप बनाया 1971 में या 67 में, उसके बाद कभी उनकी हिम्मत नहीं हुई कि कोई दूसरा मैप बना दे. Why? Because it takes lot of time, lot of money. सेंसस हमारा घर जाके नंबर काउंट करना है 2011 के बाद, आज 25 हो गया, अभी तक नहीं है. Why? Because time consuming and large manpower is engaged. But what we have, that is the beauty. We want to see the changes, what is happening. I'll show one slide कि क्या change हो रहा. We all know, but just to put it in my domain. कि 71 के बाद क्या change हुआ, कोई शहर, कोई दुनिया में किसी part of the surface of the earth, we do not know. But this has made it possible कि हर 5 दिन के बाद you get the another data of the same place. Satellite revisit, you know what we have, satellite orbit, you know, कोई satellite 5 दिन के बाद फिर आ जाता है दिल्ली के ऊपर, इसी जामिया के ऊपर, और कोई 15 दिन के बाद. We all know, I'll not go into that detail, we all know. So that is the beauty of remote sensing satellite data. कि repetitivity, revisit, we get hundreds and hundreds of data every year, right? So that is the important. We want to see changes, and that one need to understand कि 10 सालों में क्या बदला, 5 साल में क्या बदला, and then accordingly you plan for the better development, for better future for the urban and rural areas. So that is one. Now I'll come to this is a flow chart diagram where we have the Landsat data, and these are the method. I do not want to go into that detail. Earlier we used to see only land use land cover and land use land cover change, but we go to finer detail and we go and map rate and intensity of land use change, land rate intensity, mean landscape expansion index, and many more things, built up density, vegetation density, and these are the output, temporal, spatio-temporal output of Delhi. Just to glimpse, in 1991 what was the state of built up, 2001 up to 2021, and if you see the built up density, that is a built up straight away. We need to see the density because ratio figure is always better. In a way that if I give an example, तो हम कहते हैं कि अगर जो कहें कि हमारे मार्क्स बच्चे का पूछा कितना है बेटा, तो he says कि 90 marks. तो 90 is very good marks. One understand. The moment you put the denominator 100, 90%. The moment you put 150, change. If the moment you say 200, so it is 45%. Very poor. So therefore the ratio figure is always better. Ratio for density, population density or built up density, unit per area or population per unit area. So with this data, once we have a satellite data, you get the built up, then built up density. See the built up density, what is state of it, this is the index. So these kind of meaningful information we get it at the local level and the regional level also. Now vegetation cover, the same thing, vegetation cover on the top line and then vegetation cover density. Now if you see this one, land surface temperature, LST. Alex has showed at a global level. I'm showing the student, master student and PhD student, those who have done. Just I'm showing you to those who are not working, who are not seeing that. The beauty of the satellite data and power of satellite data. Land surface temperature, if you see, the most of the areas by 2018 has become red. Right? So it is but natural, but one need to see where and what to do. That is an important issue and that is an important question. Now, this is another very important study, paper that was published in 2022. I'm sorry I could not put the detailed reference. Earlier what we used to get, we used to get the broader temperature exposure. What we have is, if we take the data from forward-looking infrared aerial photograph, what we see, the Palam Vihar, street element and surface temperature. This is a building and this is a building temperature, right? So what we have, if we see number 1, this is number 1. The height, light color decimeter shaded first floor, 37 degrees centigrade. If you go to the second point, what we have? 44 degrees centigrade. We have 46 degrees centigrade at the point, what we see? Number 5, number 6, number 7. So what we see? You see here, the metal surface, point number 11, 60 degrees centigrade. Then again the question comes of the technology and the money. This money and technology plays a very negative role for the climate change and local environment. We put the air conditioner. What we get inside, triple and 4 times is outside the high temperature. So what do we have? So these are the satellite data. In fact, aerial photograph is a part of satellite remote sensing program. What we have, see this building, and this was the real estate of temperature, what is happening by using the thermal infrared cameras, Now see another part, sector 4, street element surface temperature on 7th May 2022. What we have? See this one. This is a building and what is state. So what I'm trying to show is that it is not the broader level, but you need to see the individual level. At an individual dwelling unit, how much we are exposed to. That is very important. That plays a very crucial factor for you. Now, I'm coming to a specific study, that is fuzzy AHP that we have applied. That has been applied by one of my students. That is published for Odisha. And we try to assess the coastal risk management at the block level. So these are the data, satellite data, Landsat 8. We use the DEM 30 meter spatial resolution, demographic data from sensors, cyclone track. Then we have the shelter, cyclone shelter, health center and all, road, rainfall and wind speed. And these are the period and these are the output what we get it. Let us see the output what we have. This is a detailed flow chart of that paper. What we have here is, as I showed you and Alex also showed, the vulnerability criteria, exposure criteria and the hazard criteria. And if you apply the mitigation criteria, what is going to happen? What benefit we are getting out of it? So if I go on the different layer, vulnerability assessment number 1, we took the elevation, slope, nearness to cyclone track, nearness to coastline, land use, land cover. Then the second, exposure assessment criteria. How many people are exposed to? Then I take the population density, the dependent population, female population, disabled population, mud and thatched houses, since it's coastal Odisha, a lot of fishing population are living there, agriculture dependent population, and these are the classification into 5 categories. Then the third is hazard assessment. What are the areas? What are the places which is exposed to the hazard? Then cyclone frequency, where the frequency is high, at the block level, and this is storm surge. You see the index and get it, the glimpse. Wind speed. These are the areas where the south and middle part of the Odisha, where we have the high wind speed, average annual precipitation. All these leads to culminate to the hazard assessment. Now the mitigation capacity, which part of the coastal Odisha is prepared for better mitigation, and for that what I took is the different 6 parameters. Nearest to cyclone shelter, if you are close to cyclone center, you are better off. Then the nearest to the health center, if you have got ill, and if you are close to hospital, if you have a good hospital, then you will be better off. Then the third is the nearest to coastal vegetation. If there is a vegetation, dense vegetation, that plays a positive role for the coastal cyclone and all. Cyclone warning system, what Alex was talking about, if you have better warning system, so you are better off. Then the literacy, another very important issue, that is that of the literacy. Now then what we did, we put the ranking from very low to very high. If any part of the coastal Odisha where elevation is less than 5 meters, if you see the top right corner, so that is at a high vulnerability. Similarly, if the female population is high, 50%, more than 50%, that will be at a high risk. And he gave the different ranking of different criteria what we have. We classified into different categories. Then similarly we give the assign the weight assigned to different criteria. that is done in statistical software. What we did, say for example, land use land cover. If the value is high, that means land use land cover plays more important, and that is being impacted more. At this, in the case of agriculture dependent population, if agriculture dependent population obviously is a rural area, so what we have? We have a more weight, that is 0.2. If in the case of nearest to the coastline, 0.17, that is less affected in the terms of tropical cyclone. Now, we got by using all these 4 or 5 parameters of vulnerability, exposure, hazard, we got the one map. We model and he got the one map, that is vulnerability to tropical cyclone, exposure to tropical cyclone hazards, and then what we get, mitigation capacity to tropical cyclone, if we apply that with that. And then lastly, he used these 3 layers. From 18 layers he made it to 3 layers, and by using these 3 layers he modeled further to get the final output map in terms of tropical cyclone risk. So these are the areas, especially you see south and western red patches, where we have the very high risk. Very high risk. And it is not that you model in GIS and say this is high risk and low risk. You need to know the exact ground reality. I always tell my students, okay, do not look and do not depend on the satellite data, good satellite data and good GIS modeling. No. That is meaningless unless it does not match with the ground reality. And for that you need to go to a field and field check and correct your result. So we have validated. I'll show you in some of the study that we have done validation for each paper. Now second case study is a coastal vulnerability at block level, Andhra Pradesh. Another student did at Andhra Pradesh for the Andhra Pradesh. Then we have the physical vulnerability, social vulnerability. Then we did vulnerability ranking. Everybody is using AI technique, machine learning and all. So what we get? These are the physical vulnerability indexes, where this is a formula. I do not want to go into that detail. And these are the parameters. And the most important, one of the most important parameter in the base layer is the land use land cover. If any physical assessment, be it landslide, be it urbanization, or be it forest issues or anything. So one is the land use land cover, then bathymetry data, then shoreline change, then geomorphology is also very important. Wind speed, slope, you can see the index, the slope, how much slope we have, 0, where exactly is the coastline. Rainfall, where we have the maximum rainfall, these are areas we have the maximum rainfall. And then what we get? We get this physical coastal vulnerability index, and high vulnerability is observed in Vishakhapatnam, Srikakulam, Vazinagaram, and West Godavari. And these are the areas. These are very, it is not very easy to understand, but it has been zoomed in, and you see these are the pixels that shows a very high vulnerability where, and similarly what we go there, so that has been zoomed out and that has been showed where all is happening. So what we need to do is, as a planner, as a city administrator, they need to look into, we need to take action in those areas where we have the high to very high vulnerability, especially in those areas, rather than targeting entire state, entire coastline. So that is very important. Then we had the social vulnerability. For that social vulnerability, we had the population density both. As I said, the ratio figure is very important. Then female population, old age population, then child population is another very important issue. Literacy rate, primary health center, and per capita income. You can take a number of parameter depending on your own need. You can ask साहब यही क्यों लिया वो क्यों लिया. There is a lot of if and but one need to, and the most important thing is that you need to judiciously select the parameter. If you select the judiciously parameter, you'll get a better output. No need to take the 20-25 parameter. Maybe you take 5 or 7, but that should be more justified. That may give you, as per your need, better result. So these are a special map that has been prepared by him. Then the social coastal vulnerability index that has been prepared, as I showed you before. Then integrated vulnerability. What we did, he overlaid the social and coastal physical both, and then integrated vulnerability index integrated vulnerability index, IVI. This is formula, simple formula. Anyone can do that. And then what we get. So this is if you want to talk about the only social aspect, then you can take that output social vulnerability. If you are a hardcore scientist, you are physical scientist, you're a geologist, then you can take the physical vulnerability. If you are talking about the entire overall development, then you can go for integrated coastal vulnerability index of that particular area. You can map for the entire coastline, east and west India or any parts of the world. Now the third case study I want to show is that of tropical cyclone assessment. Then again what we have, the vulnerability, exposure, hazard, mitigation criteria. Then what we did, we applied standardization criteria layer, we apply weight using the fuzzy AHP model, spatial analysis, hazard met and output is map. See, that was the coastline. There's another study, and what all study I'm showing that has been published in good research journal, SCI journals. This is for entire Odisha. What we have for the entire Odisha, what we have the if you see the elevation, minus 6.68 meter to 1,486 meter. Then slope, what we have, the distance to cyclonic track. That is another important. Cyclonic track is very important, and you must be seeing in the news that cyclone track is at this particular place. IMD shows in the news at this place it will move in 4 hours this side and another 4 hours it will move this side, and accordingly they plan, they issue the warning. But nature knows its own course. Allah भगवान उसको बदल देता है, कभी weak कर देता है, कभी घुमा देता है. So anyways, that we cannot do that, but we can model only, and we can try to best predict and warn the people. So that is cyclonic track, that is very important. Then we have the distance from the coastline and land use. What we got using these two parameters, what we did earlier, then the exposure parameter, population density, where we have the high population density, that is more exposed, the population density is 800 person per square kilometer. Dependent population is very high. If we talk about the northern Odisha and this one coastal Odisha districts, then female population is very high again in the top district and then the coastal district. Similarly, other parameters that we have, exposure parameter. Then hazard parameter, what we talked about. And if you see this, especially if you see the coastal Odisha, this part, northern and central part is more exposed, and they receive maximum annual rainfall compared to south. The wind speed on the other hand is high in the southern and rest half of the coastal Odisha. The reason I do not know much on that, why it is so, the storm surge, that is also, you can see here, the maximum is in center and west. Maybe it is proximity with the Bay of Bengal and West Bengal, maybe something like that. Climatologists will tell you better. Then we again overlaid and model, and we get the vulnerability to tropical cyclone, top left picture, then exposure to tropical cyclone, and then hazard to tropical cyclone. So by using these parameters, special parameter, what we get, this is the hazard, where we see the central and eastern part of the Odisha and some northern portion of the Odisha, where the level of hazard is very high, and then lighter shade shows lesser hazards, and so. When we apply the mitigation, what I showed, where the hospitals are, where the shelters are. So based on that, what we have, that is these are the areas where we have the criteria risk assessment, mitigation capacity, where we have the high mitigation capacity. These are the areas we have high mitigation capacity, and then clearly match that government also plan in a way that where we have the high exposure, they have the better hospitals, better other things, shelter and all. So what we get? We get the tropical cyclone risk map. The more the mitigation capacity, we can have a better, less area which is affected tropical cyclone risk. But even then, you see, if we go back and see this one, this was all red, this was all red. But if we apply the mitigation capacity, that is better mitigation. There you have the lighter color where we see the less exposure. So what do you get out of it? That the more and more mitigation capacity has to be planned by the city government and the other authorities, so that we can protect our population of the country, in a better way. And then I was talking about the validation, the very important ROC curve we generate. The ROC value comes 0.9, that is pretty high, and that shows that result is quite good and validated. So even then again I repeat that 0.9 is not that good if it does not match with the ground reality. 0.8 is fair enough if it is matching with the ground reality. But statisticians, scientists always believe in values, R square values, AOC number, as a social scientist, and that is most important issue that one need. So I feel that both should match, the statistic with the ground reality. Number of per capita income is going up, but the absolute poverty in the people, if you go on the ground, you do not see much changes. We do not see much changes. So 6%, 8%, 9% economic growth is of no use unless the people do not get better off in most part of the country or Africa or any parts of the world. That is another issue. District wise, he tried to see the district wise what is state of affairs. Baleshwar, Cuttack, and many more districts, Jaipur, Puri, and this shows the very high 26%. Entire Odisha is under a very high, then followed by high 16%, and so and so. So that is a district level statistical application and output that may be used by the city administrator and planning people. There is another very important aspect what Alex has showed. I'll add to that. It was earlier satellite data for the fiscal issues, but now we have the satellite data for many more meteorological issues, climate studies, and what you talk about when you are talking about the pollution and all. So we have better satellite data, very good satellite data for assessing the air quality, and for that there is a NASA satellite mission for air pollution mapping, and in that there is one satellite data, MIRA, modern era retrospective analysis for research and application. MIRA 1 and MIRA 2, MIRA 3, the series of satellite what we have. MIRA data was first made available in 2008, MIRA 2 was made available in 2016, and still you get the data. And by using these data, we get very good quality of data. Earlier what we used to have, we were dependent on a state pollution control board. Then we are dependent on central pollution control board. But no, we have better data, very good data. Of course, it is of the maybe 500 meter or 250 and 1 kilometer resolution, but we have the very good data to model, to see the state of affairs. Earlier what we used to have, we were dependent on central groundwater board to get the water level data. We were dependent on IMD data to get the rainfall data. But now we have the graded data. Tomorrow I have a lecture in that. I'll show you graded data, from where all this graded data we get it. And tomorrow we'll have exercises, lab exercise, GIS lab exercises, that I'll show you the theoretical aspect, technical aspect, and then I'll show you how to work on that. Those who are working, for them it may not be new, but for many of you it is very good and new. So what we have the data of NASA satellite mission. It is used to analyze AOD, aerosols, PM2.5, sulfur dioxide, ozone black, and many more. A number of parameters you can take. Depending on need, you can take the parameter and then you can model it. Then there is another data, that is AIRS, atmospheric infrared sounder, launched in 2002 on board NASA Aqua satellite. There is two satellite, Terra and Aqua satellite. Technically I do not go into that detail. Atmospheric sounder is there, the sensing, it enhances our understanding of Earth, weather and climate. AIRS major CO concentration with 45 meter spatial resolution, right? So for the regional level, it is very good data. Now let's see. We did long back a study, and that was published in 2020, where we did the global level. We were sitting at home, and my research team, one fine guy was Sopan Talukdar, he is faculty in Calcutta University. So we plan to do that. Okay, what is state of affairs that has changed? Pre-lockdown and post-lockdown. And for that, the freely available data was downloaded, and we mapped carbon monoxide, which was 123 to 2 ppb part per billion by volume, and it is reduced to 59 to 101 ppb in most of the European countries. You see, if you see the dark patches, what we have, where you see the dark patches, that is the areas where we have the high consumption. If you see India, the most fertile Gangetic plain and industrialized region and eastern part and some western part, Mumbai, Pune and all, where we have done Southeast Asia, Central America, west of Europe, and eastern and a bit Central America, where we have the very high CO, carbon monoxide. What happened? What happened? See this one. This is A, December 2019 temporal data, then January 2020, then February, C, that is here, 2020, then D, March 2020. See this one. I do not need to explain anything. With your naked eyes, you can get an understanding what has happened. So you may ask a question, okay, what is new to it? When factories will run, the fossil fuel will be used, emission will come up. When the traffic will flow on the road, more and more traffic, emission will come up. When you stop all those, it will stop emission. So what we get from this lesson, we try to understand, we try to get the lesson. We cannot stop the vehicle, we cannot stop the factory, because we need the goods and services. So in what fashion, how to run and how to produce the goods and services, that is the most important issue. So what we see here, from December 2019, the lockdown was imposed on, I suppose, 20th March 2020, yeah, 24th of March, I suppose. You correct me if I'm wrong. 20th March, till May 31st something. So that was before the lockdown, and this is in March when slowly it was started. This is one parameter. Now similarly, what we did, we took aerosol, optical depth. Aerosol is another big issue that is coming up globally, for which we are least concerned now, but we should be concerned in near future. AOT level was 1.72 in January, reduced to 0.6 in March. See this one, and this is a index 1.72, where you see the red patches. You can see what was the state of affairs, including India, what was happening, what was there in that was a time period, December 2019 to March 2020. So what we have, then you see it has reduced. So the bright patches have gone mostly, and green patches have come up. So it reduced to see 0.65 in many parts of the world. Then ozone, Alex was showing yesterday, yes, it does not impact directly, but it benefits us, but at the same time it also impacts. So there are some issues that is very good for us, and at the same time it is very bad for us. We need protein, we need fat, but excess of protein and fat will make you sick. Health issues, uric acid or heart issues, that will come. So that is the state of our. In the morning he was talking about sustainable development goal. That was very good studies that has been conducted by his research collaborator Karen Sito at Yale. So that is very important. One need to understand ozone. So what is the state of ozone across the world? In the case of ozone, countries like USA, Canada, West European countries, and part of Russia recorded 3122405 decibel in December in 2019, and it reduced to 3042, 347 by March 2020. And if you could have taken the data of, say, for example, April, May, it could have further gone down. So such kind of wonderful studies, we can do by using satellite data. And my only concern is, in the age of climate change, I want to demonstrate you the power of remote sensing GIS technique, right? Now PM 2.5, the same is scenario with this. PM 2.5, you see this one, it has further gone down. You see the dark patches what we have, and it is further reduced. Post lockdown, A, B, C, D, if you see the index, then the black carbon, and see the changes. In South and Southeast Asian countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Myanmar, Thailand experienced huge reduction in black carbon between December 19 to March 2022. You can see the patches, and then it is all gone. There's some concentration is still here because of maybe the wind movement or some other factor. I do not know exactly, maybe temperature. For reason being one or the other. I should also check my time. Yes, I have about 10 to 15 minutes more. I try to be on time. I follow Alex with the time. Americans are very particular with the time. You know. Then by using all these parameters, I have not showed some other parameters. We took more parameters. Sulfur dioxide with carbon dioxide and many more parameters. It was, I think, 12, 13 parameters. Then the most important is the resultant air quality index. We are not talking today what is the level of CO2, what is the level of sulfur dioxide in Delhi NCT. We always talk about three issues what I listen: PM 2.5, PM 10 and air quality index. And when you open a map on the Google, this mobile or anywhere on a system, you will find air quality is never less than 250 and 300. But luckily with the rain we have less than 100. So it is not an issue of only the big cities. It is issue of more of the smaller and medium sized cities. Because small and medium sized cities, they house more than 2/3 of the urban population in India. And we are targeting mainly on the big cities. Now, most of the big cities has been targeted for understanding, for demonstrating, for modeling. But we should focus. My suggestion is always to the students and to the other people, those who are responsible. You should focus on the medium, small size cities. This is less touched in any of the issues. So, if you want to really solve the problem, urban sustainability, urban climate change at the larger level, you need to focus on the smaller and medium sized cities, because that will add to when we talk about economic growth, the government and everybody focus on the rich players, so that they can have a better picture. Economic growth was in the first quarter, it was 5.4%, it is now 5.8%. So they focus on that, and that is very bad. So one need to understand, one need to focus on the largest section of society, largest sector of the industries, so that we can have a better economic growth and so and so. So now come back and let us see the air quality index. What we have is state of air quality modeling. We did in GIS environment in the month of December 2019 and January 2020. This is January 20. Then what we found? We're high and very high in those December and January, but in industrialization, but in China and India also, but it decreased considerably thereafter. So if you see this one top A picture, this is a bright picture, this is the hazardous air quality, very unhealthy, moderate and good. So what you see, the red and lighter red and yellow patches is reduced in all but including India. If you see the India, entire India was under a very high or high. But if you see, if we come here in March 2020, it has reduced. It has reduced a lot. So that is one of the important aspect that one need to understand, one need to take into consideration what can be done, and individual can do it, right? So these are the areas where we have a lot of changes. See the top, see the A picture and the C picture, you see the big difference in these two. Now what I did, we try to put some cities of the world and see what was the state of change, because you need to see the change. When you meet somebody तो आप कहते हो कि यार आप बदल गए हो, आप बहुत स्मार्ट लग रहे हो पहले से, वेट बहुत गेन कर लिया, something like that. So in some aspect it is good, some aspect it is bad. So what you need to see, हम सिर्फ मैप दिखाने से नहीं समझ में आएगा कॉमन मीनिंग को. Whatever we do the research, whatever we do as a academician, as a teacher, that has to be understood by the common people. That is the most important issue. If it is not understood by common people, your research is always meaningless. Technically trained people हर आदमी समझ लेगा, लेकिन a layman, when you prepare a map as a student of geography, map ऐसा बनाओ, मैं कहता हूँ स्टूडेंट से क्लास में, अदरवाइज भी रिसर्च स्टूडेंट से कि मैप ऐसा बनाओ कि सिर्फ मैप देख के एक आदमी समझ ले, in a way that any layman can turn the pages of atlas और वो समझ जाता है सारी चीजें, किसी की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है. एक कम पढ़ा लिखा भी एक आदमी एटलस पलट के अपने बच्चे को, बेटे को समझा देता है बेटा क्या है. So in that way your output research should come out, so that the largest society can be benefited. तो उसके लिए टेबल बनाया गया, and then what we have in December, January, February, March, up to December to, and then December to March. So this index says the air quality state very good to hazardous, and then this is rate of change. What is state of affair? How it has changed? Highly negative to highly positive. Moderate negative, no change, slight positive, moderate. So if you see this any country, maybe see, let us see China, Wuhan, जहाँ से शुरुआत हुई थी. That was Genesis. तो Wuhan को देखिए, that you see in December, what we have? The red, you know, hazardous, right? And if you go further, see the yellow, unhealthy. Hazardous to unhealthy. And rate of change also. Rate of change, these two, index is common for this output matrix. So what we have? Slightly positive. If we talk about say Mumbai or Delhi, what we see? It was unhealthy and the change was slightly positive. So this kind of statistical matrix we generate in statistical software. There are different software. पहले हम लोग करते थे कैलकुलेटर से करते थे. अब हमारे पास क्या हो गया कि कैलकुलेटर एक्सेल आ गया. एक्सेल के बाद very strong powerful software that we have. और क्या कहते हैं कि many more. So what we have, this we got it. The last study I want to take a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so, then we can come for discussion. The climate change vulnerability assessment using climate extreme indices. That is a main focus of our workshop, GIAN workshop, 5-day workshop. That is climate change vulnerability. So on that, we have prepared. I've shared with you in the Google Drive before you join the course 2 exercises. One was a climate change vulnerability assessment at a local level, and second was on flood hazard modeling. So these are the 2 exercises. We have prepared the manual, me and Alex and my student, that in a very simple way. Anyone who do not know, if they have a computer, they have a software, they can do it. So I'll show you 2 slides only just to give the glimpse. I'll speak on detail. I'll not only speak, but I'll demonstrate, and I'll demonstrate in a way that a layman can get to know and can do it if they have the data, and data is freely available. If you have the manual with you, you can do it. So on that, what we have, the Beas River Basin, Intezar is doing PhD, he has just started a couple of years back. We took 6 extreme indices, to assess the climate change, and there are numbers of extreme indices. I'll show tomorrow from where you get these indices, how to convert the data into tabular form, and from tabular form to how can you convert it in a spatial map, and how can you model it. And it's very easy, just you need little bit understanding. So what we have, the first parameter we took is CDD, consecutive dry days, CWD, consecutive wet days, then R20, that is number of days with more than 20 millimeter rainfall. Then we have the 4th parameter, the mean minimum temperature, TNM. Then we took mean of maximum temperature, TXM, and TN90V, number of very hot days. So you can take the different parameters, and when you are talking about climate change, the 2 important parameter comes. One is the temperature and second is precipitation. And entire thing is dependent on that. You talk about vegetation, you talk about wildlife, or you talk about crop productivity or anything. Everything is dependent on 2 main parameter. That is an entire gamut of climate change is roaming around what we call is a temperature and precipitation, largely mainly on a temperature, global warming or whatever, because it is a temperature which plays a crucial role. So these 6 climate extreme indices were taken. Then that indices was analyzed. That indices were analyzed using R Climate software and R Studio. I was talking about the statistical software. These are the 2 very powerful software. People are using it. By using expert team on climate change detection indices. People at the climate school in Columbia, they have given the indices, how to change, how to use these indices, what the ranking could be given, and what is the weight, what weight could be given, and based on expert advice, we need to follow. As we have the common understanding of guideline that is given by World Health Organization or Indian Medical Association. Okay, this is a standard parameter that you need to beat a blood pressure or sugar, something like that. So using that expert team on climate change, we apply this, and what we get this climate vulnerability of the Beas. This is part of Beas River Basin. So what you see, this red patches is the area which is having very high exposure to climate change, and the half of it is having a less of the climate climate vulnerability. In fact, it is divided into two half, eastern half and western half. So tomorrow I'll be going to show you, because it's a theoretical aspect. Tomorrow when we'll talk, the lab will take you to lab, department lab. We have the GIS and system, very powerful system, very good software. We'll have a demonstration here. I'll show you all the steps in a childish way so that a layman can understand. And then we have the different layers. I have switched off all these layers where we have the population and then 6 extreme indices. I'm showing just output, what output we get here, and then just to give a glimpse of it. Since most of us from India, you must be less concerned about USA or East Asia or Africa. You know, हमारा अपना घर अपना गांव ज़्यादा अच्छा लगता है, and we should concern on that. And in that context, we'll provide you the different data layers, raw data, you do yourself. And then what we did, we simply use the census data and we plot the population, total population. Whatever you see, this is a water body, is a black patches, and see here, these are the areas where these are high vulnerable to climate change, and a big dot shows what we have, more than 1 lakh population, 1 lakh or more than 1 lakh population. So if you see this one, you get a very strong understanding. These are the areas where the very high chances of climate vulnerability, and the population what we have, the mainly concentrated scattered in those areas. So one need to understand what need to be done. Alex was talking about his strokes. In Europe and westward, if you go for 24 degree, 25 degrees extreme heat, people start feeling uneasy. But here more than 40 degree, we are very happy. We laugh like anything. So these are two different words. There are two different words. In India, you can go any way, and in the rest of the world, you have to go that your own way. I was talking to Alex. I said, only one lane in India, but different speed. A cow can move on. A car of 80 speed or 120 speed can move on. A cyclist people can move on under the same lane, but in the rest part of the world, there are different speed. So what I'm trying to talk about is, we need to see the different basing. There are different studies we thought of putting this Vyas River basing. So this is probably the last slide that I wanted to show you. So I just wanted to present before you what is the usefulness and what is the power of GIS remote sensing data, and that is being used for in most of the domains, not only to agriculture science, geology, geomorphology and geography, but even the health sciences and all. Health scientists want to see where all this pandemic is is happening, where are the water quality is there, where all the water quality is poor, and how much people are being impacted. So all these people I'm associated with one very big study by Indian Council of Medical Research and Canadian Health Research Council, CHIR, since last 10 years. We are trying to see how the child mortality is going up, and second is obesity. And I'm trying to tell you the power of remote sensing GIS. The base of that project is how with the physical transformation, with the land use change, agriculture is being changed into built up areas, urbanization, and people are using that money for their good quality of life. In a good houses, they have bought the car, they are going to fast food, and therefore the childhood obesity is going up. So we have generated a large database for 50 villages in one of the most backward district of Mewat. And by using that high resolution data, what do you data? We built up state of changes in built up from agriculture built up, and with that lead to economic transformation. And when money will come into pocket, what will happen? Obviously, you'll go with the children, the family, with the wife. कि चलो कुछ खा के आते हैं, कुछ खिला के आते हैं. So you go to McDonald's, Pizza Hut. Once money will come to your pocket, so that is impacting. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि मत खाओ, but कितना खाओ, that is another point. So that is a big issue. कि साहब obesity and child mortality and other. So so what I'm trying to convey is that I never thought of people from the health domain will come and say, 10 years before they came, one gentleman came to me that we want to have a collaboration, we want to have on board for this, no, health GIS जो हम कहते हैं उसके ऊपर, and on board there are people from AIMS to good cardiac people from AIMS, anthropologist people, then other people from different biotechnology people from there, and we are trying to understand, and it's still going on that project. So if you take that way, the all the disciplines they are using the satellite data. So I'm not promoting the subjects, but I'm telling you the truth. So thank you so much. I'm sure that we have time for 5 minutes or so for some comments, suggestions, and query, please. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your nice presentation. One of the data that is now being used for air pollution is topomy data. We are using that for our research study. And another part is that you have used per capita income in many of your studies. So, sir, is this data available for district level?
Yes, most of data is available. If you talk about per capita income or any other data, that is available, and that is also available in a free domain. NSSO is giving the data. District handbook is giving the data on that. So data is available. Only issue is that if you want to have a data, say 24 or 20 or 21 latest data, that may not be available, but other data is available. So in that case, what I suggest is that if a data, say for example census data or any per capita income data of 10 or 2011, you can simulate it. Okay, what could be probability of having this per capita as of now. So do not, I advise that do not stuck to the data which is available for 15 or 10. In the statistical software you simulate and see what could be the probability. So you'll get the value or the figure close to reality. In the case of no data, absence of data, right?
Thank you so much for this wonderful, insightful lecture, sir. My question is regarding the data types, and it is a little away from this technical part. There's no denying the fact that the GIS has brought remote sensing, and GIS has given second birth to geography. It's a second quantitative revolution. We can term it as that. But, sir, amidst this, which is a very drastic tool, what is the role of the future meteorological departments, either it's WMO or IMD, in terms of providing data to researchers, or maybe how researchers will in the near future perceive them? What is the role of meteorological department, whether WMO or IMD?
See, very important observation what you've made, Kulsum Salahuddin. I feel that किसी चीज की वैल्यू खत्म नहीं होती, right? In the age of having very good satellite data, topo sheet की वैल्यू खत्म नहीं होगी. Reason being कि if you want to have something to be mapped before 1972, it is a topo sheet. And I salute to those Survey of India people. जब उसका कुछ भी नहीं था, एक कैलकुलेटर भी ढंग का नहीं था, and they mapped it so precisely, the entire country, and 1:1 million sheet we know. At 1:1 million, 1:5 lakh, 1:2 lakh, 50,000 पे अलग अलग part of the map किया गया. And if you overlay the topo sheet, what we do in the lab, student के साथ करते हैं, तो is precisely match. तो किसी चीज की वैल्यू खत्म नहीं हो. नंबर वन. नंबर स्पेसिफिकली इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्लाइमेटिक व्हाट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, हम 2 साल पहले की बात करें तो हम कहते थे, आप लोग हंसोगे, कि जो आईएमडी का है उसका उल्टा मान लो, है ना, बारिश होगी तो नहीं होगी. बट टुडे इफ दे से इट विल रेन, इट इज रेनिंग. It is raining. Why? It is because of the satellite data what we have, gritty data. So the meteorology people can do that. I cannot do that. Alex cannot do that. Many of the studies what he showed, he presented ki my colleague, my other team member, those who are associate, they presented me, they did it, and they briefed me as a since he is director. So my concern is that they are using those data. They are the meteorology people. They are using expertise. Their theoretical and fundamental knowledge is very important. So that is giving the value added, you know, that I can say, yes.
So the researchers who are still delving into the heavy weightlifting of dealing with the meteorological data, and they're doing research with handling meteorological data, how do they find themselves as probable misfits in the world of paper presentations and conferences, international conferences within India, and have using GIS technology? So how do they defend themselves that no, this is even heavy lifting work, and this is equally authentic work as it is as the satellite data work? Like, how do we explain that, and how do we put forth that view?
See, as far as I understand what we want to put before, that it is their duty to do it. How it will get benefited, it is the agencies, how they take their data and how they use it. You know, I tell you one more story. So when I was working in Germany, there was a presentation by agency, and my professor said, "Ki, well, it is in German, but you can get a glimpse of it. Come and sit." I went there. I was sitting. I did not get anything. In the end, my professor told me that the gas being supplied from Netherlands to Germany for heating through pipeline. No, so they are trying to understand ki it is does it impact on the roadside trees and plants or not. Then next year again there was a presentation of the same group. People from municipality, people those who did studies from biotechnology, botany, and then geography people, urban landscape department, and then the people from law and port. And the next year, what I find, there was heated discussion like fighting, verbal fighting. You know? Then I asked in the end what happened. So my professor told me that we were doing this project since last 2 years, what I saw before. Now that is a final presentation. And if somebody is going to be, made culprit, they have to pay $1 million as a fine. So one agency says this is not my fault. Other agencies saying that there is not my fault. So they are concerned, so much are so concerned of the roadside trees and plants, you know. But in our country, so it is the duty of the researchers or anyone, IMD people or agriculture scientist people, they want to put before the fact and figure. This is happening, and it is a duty for us as a common citizen first, and then the agencies and government to take care of it. How to best use those outcome from the scientific work that can get benefited the general people and the entire country. That is my say. Yes, please.
Thanks so much, sir, for your such a wonderful presentation. Sir, I have a question that in the context of India, how we can use remote sensing data in the grassroots level. I would say that how we can implement. We are having at urban ministry is implementing remote sensing data or a disaster management. So all these are doing that, but how we can use at policy at the grassroots level? As far as I remember, I did in my one of the international committee, I was part of it. So I give the suggestion to them that remote sensing data we can use it. So that's I did it, but practically how can, it's your point of view perspective, I'm just asking you in a personally way, you can say it in a normal way. That's why. And second answer that my colleague has asked, that this quantitative revolution, that geography has a foundation on a quantitative revolution. Geography started from a mathematics kind of it, and then we came towards the qualitative, which is in the 50s 60s, phenomenology, epistemology, all the concept has came then we are in the third phase of the quantitative. So our foundation is a kind of a mathematical physical science. Then, yeah, I clarification.
Well, thank you so much. As I was answering her question, how it can be useful, to at the grassroots level. So as I showed you that you need to work on the different level at the micro level with good satellite data, good resolution, and regional level. How it will be useful? That is again the issue of people, the agencies and the policy makers. Say, for example, you must be knowing that we have different agencies of NRSE, National Remote Sensing Center, Government of India, under ISRO. They have regional remote sensing centers in Lucknow and Jodhpur. I'm coming. Jodhpur and also in Gujarat, and in Delhi it has recently established. So they are the agencies, they are working, and government is saying, different agencies. Ministry of Vehicle is saying that I need this kind of issue. That is the issue. How you can address it by using satellite data and GIS, and they are doing it all the time, all the year round. They do not have any other own project like what we look for the different projects from different agencies. They assign different projects based on the problem and issues at the grassroots level, be it urban and rural, for agriculture or poverty or anything, or water, and they are working on that. And their output is being used for the framing the policy in uh, other documents. So that is another issue. Ki how good it is being, in many of the cases, what I see that scientists have done, any agencies have done good work, they have given good finding that goes to different ministries and keep on moving the files and files moving. In the meantime, government change, minister change, and then they go somewhere else. That is the main problem. Uh, I tell in my office that today I am, say, head of whatever. You are in office, but the file should be there. Whosoever is in office, whosoever is in a chair, he should get that file, and then that should keep moving so that you get better, implementation process. It's not that कि भाई किसी ने अच्छा काम किया उसको कहो सब खराब किया, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होता है. कुछ अच्छा किया हो कुछ खराब किया, जो अच्छा किया होगा उसको कैरी ऑन करो और ले आओ up to implementation process, up to the implementation stage. Otherwise it will be remain as it is, and that is a big problem what you have raised. कि हमारे हिंदुस्तान में जो प्रॉब्लम है, जो 20 साल पहले देखते हैं, हम अपने गांव जाते हैं, बिलोंग टू ईस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश, रूरल एरियाज, जो हम देखते हैं कुछ घर पक्के हो गए और कुछ कच्चे हैं, नाला वैसी है, रोड ऐसी है, रोड बनता है टूटता है साल में 2 बार. सो दैट इज एन इशू कि उसको जब तक हम उसको एंड तक नहीं ले जाएंगे, एंड दैट इज व्हाट आई सेड, इन जर्मनी दे वर सो कंसर्न कि हम उसको एंड तक ले जाएं, और फिर एक बार वंस यू पेनलाइज, सो दैट विल नॉट बी डन इन फ्यूचर. कोई नहीं कर सकता. एक बार हम टीचर हैं, कोई हमने गलती किया, रजिस्ट्रार ने इशू किया कोई इशू, कोई नोटिस, तो फिर हम आई बी डबली केयरफुल. तो वो चीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट है कि वन नीड टू बी, तो उसको ले जाना एंड तक. ऑलवेज पीपल से कि सब सरकार का काम है, नहीं, सरकार का काम नहीं, हमारा काम है, एक एक आदमी का इंडिविजुअल काम है. आई गिव एन एग्जाम्पल, इज अ रेनी सीजन and entire India will be getting impacted of a different fever. Malaria is a big fever. अब मलेरिया चला गया, अब डेंगू, चिकनगुनिया, गोया, n number of fever. Why? Because of the water logging, and most of these insects breed on the fresh water. We are less concerned. हमारे घर के आगे पानी लगा हुआ है, हमें कोई मतलब नहीं. सरकार आगे ठीक करेगी, म्यूनिसिपल के लोग आगे ठीक करेंगे. आप अपने घर के सामने क्यों नहीं उसको पानी को हटा देते हो? हर आदमी अपने घर के सामने कूड़ा हटा दे, पानी हटा दे, इट विल ऑल क्लीन, इंटायर मोहल्ला विल बी क्लीन. कूड़ा वाला आता है, 200 रुपए आप नहीं देने चाहते हैं, कहीं फेंक देंगे बालकनी से, अपना कूड़ा दूसरे की बालकनी में फेंक देते हैं, जस्ट टू सेव सम मनी. इकोनॉमिक्स ऑलवेज कम्स इनटू पिक्चर. पैसा है आपका फिर भी. सो माय कंसर्न इज दैट इट इज नॉट अ गवर्नमेंट. हम सब चीज गवर्नमेंट में नहीं डाल सकते. अगर इंडिविजुअल हर आदमी अपने को ठीक कर ले तो बहुत कुछ ठीक हो सकता है. बीट अर्बन का कोई भी इशू हो, सॉलिड वेस्ट का इशू हो, वाटर का है, वाटर लॉगिंग का हो, और एनी और इवन क्लाइमेट चेंज, राइट. हम आपको क्या नाम है कि एसी के बगैर नहीं सो सकते हैं, पैसे आ गए एसी लगा लिया. सो आई सेड इन माय इनिशियल टॉक, इनिशियल लेक्चर, कि टेक्नोलॉजी एंड मनी जाती दुश्मन है किसके? नेचर के, क्लाइमेट के. अब ऐसा भी नहीं कि हम पुराने जमाने में चले जाएं. वी नीड टू हैव कोऑर्डिनेशन, एक भाईचारा नेचर से, मदर अर्थ से, हमारे आपके काम को. सो दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट. आई होप आई आंसर योर क्वेश्चन. यस.
Hello, sir. I'm Siddharth, and sir, I'm working on cyclones, specifically in Odisha, Baleshwar district. So, and I'm working on all the 5 vulnerabilities and the capacity indicators that is given by the Sustainable Livelihood Development, DFID actually. So the problem is like, what's your take on this? That in Indian context, we don't take care about the economic, human, and environmental factors, and there are like barely any papers when it comes to the indicator studies. Second question, like we were talking about the GIS and GIS mapping and capacity. There was a slide about that. For example, you said that for the capacity in my district, I have seen the red part is not that much, but the problem is from my field research results. I have seen that the hospitals are not nearby. So how can a GIS is very different from the land theory? Like I went for the field work also. So the nearest hospital is like 40 kilometers from the village, and I'm also adding in it like why we always take care of urban issues, not the rural, where when there is the main problem, and this is the pull and pull factors for the rural people coming from the rural development in the for the urban studies, like for urban areas not, and why we don't take much seriousness about for the developing the rural for their development, why we are just focusing on the urban studies like in these contexts.
Thank you. Very important issue you raise. Uh, I may be rude in answering some of the question. You know what you pointed out. The last question I'll take first. Ki why we are not taking the rural first? No. If I say no, we are not taking neither rural nor urban seriously. You know, I do not see much work that is being done, especially what you're talking about health issue. You know, आप देखो अपने कहीं भी चले जाओ, यूपी, बिहार, बंगाल, कहीं भी जो सरकारी हॉस्पिटल थे वही हॉस्पिटल हैं, डॉक्टर कुछ बढ़े हैं, बट इफ यू सी द इफ यू टेक एनी पैरामीटर कि नंबर ऑफ हॉस्पिटल्स, मल्टी स्पेशलिस्ट हॉस्पिटल, हॉस्पिटल बेड ऑन डॉक्टर्स पर लैक्स ऑफ पॉपुलेशन, पर 1000 पॉपुलेशन, वो थोड़ा सा बढ़ा है, बट देयर इज अ बिग बट अगेन कि वी आर लेस कंसर्न स्टिल टुडे. व्हाई आई फेल टू अंडरस्टैंड द सेम क्वेश्चन आई आस्क माई सेल्फ, कि क्यों नहीं सरकार इसके ऊपर 5% खर्चा करती है. अगर इस वक्त 1.8% है हेल्थ के ऊपर, तो उसको हम 4.8% कर दें, ये 3.8 कर दें अगले बजट में, फिर 4. और इसको हम थोड़ा ले जाएं कुछ साल, फॉर सम ईयर्स, मे बी 15, 20 years, 25 years, एंड देन थिंग्स विल चेंज. फिर उसका आप हेल्थ का डाउन कर दो, बट वी स्पेंड मोर ऑन डिफेंस विच डज नॉट गिव एनीथिंग, नुकसान के अलावा कुछ नहीं देता है, राइट? ना हमको ना आपको. So we are spending public money on more on other sectors other than. तो what is said कि 40 किलोमीटर से की हॉस्पिटल है, वहाँ हॉस्पिटल में जाएंगे तो शायद डॉक्टर भी नहीं हो, दवा भी नहीं होगी. कई हॉस्पिटल में ऐसा होता है. So I do not know. I ask myself, जब बात होती है मैं कहता हूँ कि भाई क्या मुश्किल है इसको बनाने में, है ना? क्या मुश्किल है हॉस्पिटल बनाने? स्कूल 4 और बन जाए, टीचर्स के अपॉइंटमेंट नहीं हो रहे हैं, हजारों हजार टीचर्स का यूपी से एनी स्टेट खाली पड़े हैं. वी टॉक अबाउट कि साहब नया एम्प्लॉयमेंट, न्यू एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन. आई फील ऑनेस्टली कि अगर शायद जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट है, जो पोजीशन है, उसी को फिल कर दिया है, तो 1/3 अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट विल सॉल्व. 1/3 इन ऑल, बी इट एजुकेशन, बी इट एनी सेक्टर. तो नया एम्प्लॉयमेंट बाद में जनरेट करना, भैया पहले जो है उसी को भर्ती तो कर दो. दैट इज एन इशू. तो अर्बन एरियाज को भी बहुत ज्यादा किसी ने कुछ किया नहीं. अर्बन एरियाज व्हाट वी सी द बेटर ऑफ इन कंपैरिजन टू द रूरल एरियाज, ये प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स दे आर डूइंग मोर. नो, सरकार नहीं कर रही है. सरकार कितना से फॉर एग्जांपल दिल्ली में लो इनकम हाउस होल्ड, LIG, HIG, MIG जो फ्लैट्स बनते हैं, साल में कितने फ्लैट्स बनते हैं? मे बी फ्यू थाउजेंड, और 50,000 प्राइवेट प्लेयर बनाते हैं विद इन सिटी और आउटसाइड द सिटी. So that is an issue. So there's a sad part of it that one need to focus on. Be it a rural. See, हम एक फैमिली हैं. इंडिया इज वन फैमिली. हम अपने फैमिली को देख के चलते हैं, पड़ोसी को नहीं देखते हैं. तो यू नीड टू स्पेंड मनी. और पैसे हैं, ऐसा नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं सरकार पर पैसा नहीं है, पैसा है, बट ओनली इशू इज दैट हाउ वाइजली यू स्पेंड द मनी इन विच सेक्टर. तो मुझे लगता है कि बाकी हम सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल तो वेस्टवर्ड बात करें ज्यादा, हमें पहले बात करना है जिसके ऊपर रोटी मिल जाए, एजुकेशन मिल जाए, प्राइमरी एजुकेशन मिल जाए गांव में हर जगह, एंड वो हेल्थ. दीज आर 3 इंपॉर्टेंट अपार्ट फ्रॉम मेनी मोर, राइट? सो आई डोंट हैव एग्जैक्ट आंसर टू दैट कि रूरल एरियाज को कैसे करें, क्या करें. एंड फर्स्ट पॉइंट व्हाट इज इट, data.
Because in Indian context, specifically about the vulnerability and capacity, there are very few studies which takes both together, and there are no factors. Specifically, there is no study taking the environmental factors, so we don't have the indicators to make them into weight systems.
Right.
For example, we have to take indicators from the studies like Pakistan having the flood indicators for the vulnerability, then we have to take indicators from that place. And for example, there are very few studies in India. For example, for the Fawley study, we have not taken the environmental factors. When we know that the rural people are the one who have to move from their houses to the shelters, and their work is getting like stuck for like months because of the salinity, the cyclonic flood. So why the Indian researchers are not taking care of the economic as well as the environmental indicators when it comes to the sustainable development? So
Very important issue. Yes, that's true. See, we cannot create no data. So researcher, once we start any research, when you take any topic, you frame the research question and hypothesis, and then the objective. So one need to look into what are the data availability. You know, as I was saying that CDAC, season, they are giving n number of data, very good data, more data of the third world countries, including India, than the rest part of the world. So data availability, you are correct. I'm with you that one need to have a better data. Then only you can do that. That is an issue. But what I showed you, there are different data set that is coming up by the different agencies, westward agencies, including India as well. So maybe in future, maybe in 10 years or 5 years, I do hope that we'll have a more data on environmental parameters. And then once you have data, then you take up the research. That is an issue. So that could be, I do not know, maybe I may be wrong, lacking research using the environmental data to these issues, maybe because of the availability of data. Maybe data will come up in very near future. So better understanding can be done, data research output can be done on those issues. Yes, please.
So thank you for giving me an opportunity to ask a question. Sir, how do you think it is difficult to get data in developing countries and developed countries? As we all know, GIS is layering of many aspects from many departments. We are facing difficult how much it is difficult in developing countries to get all those data, because we know we are sharing issues of data from various departments. But when in terms of developed countries, there is a system in which all the data come at one place and you can use it in GIS. So how much it will impact your output in developing and developed countries?
A very important pinpointed issue. All entire world is dependent on data. We always say data. हम कहते हैं मोबाइल में इतना डेटा है, इतना साइज. कंप्यूटर की बात करते हैं, इतना डेटा. कभी बात करोगे, I bought a mobile, a computer, what is the capacity? Data कितना storage है? So in Indian scenario, what I say, they have a lot of data. All agencies have a lot of data. And it is the government of India's policy that all data should be made on open platform, open domain. If you go to ministry, they say it is on my website. And when you visit our website, they'll hardly find few data, partial data. Then again, if you go, this is my own experience also. They say, no, all data is there. I said, sir, we have very less data. No, it's all there. We do not have anything here. So that is very serious issue. Data sharing is very important. And in spite of having the data with the Indian agencies, they are not willing to share. That is very sad part of it. And who is going to solve this? Who is going to put it, in a more open domain, ताकि चीजों को मिल जाए अच्छे से? I do not know what is the harm in that sharing the data. आपको ऐसा classified data बिल्कुल नहीं चाहिए, और हम मांगेंगे ना देना है आपको. But the data which does not harm anyone, to any nation and anyone, but it's a psyche, something like that. आप किसी से डिपार्टमेंट में पूछोगे साहब ये है आपके पास, तो क्या नहीं है, isn't it? So that is a big issue. If we talk about the westward countries are more open. Parayasa बैठे हुए हैं, he knows much more on these issues. Is working in large number of issues, visiting Oxford University every 2 months. So maybe in the tea time you can talk to him. He'll tell the rest part of the story. Westward, they have whatever they have, they put it in open domain. So in India, government is every day asking ki, "Sahab, it should be open domain, it should be make it public," but still that is not public. Hindustani is
Very big issue what I'm listening to you. That in India, I was just texting to my friends in government and just see our professors. They are so knowledgeable, have so much of knowledge. Like the Professor Alex, these scientists and professors, they have a direct interaction with the policy making body across the globe. When I was in the Berkeley University, I was doing a course on public policy, Goldman School of Public Policy, Berkeley. So 9 months I was there. So I see there how many times we government officers, we realize that the academia and scientists, they are directly linked to the policy making body. Here, what Professor Atik has spoken, and whether the policy makers, if he wants an apartment with the deputy secretary, he may not get. And why should he go there? So it is also a sad commentary that our scientists, our professors, and the everybody and policy maker, they're working in silos. This is the one reason why, despite we are having the one of the topmost brain, like I also realized that there was a one lady professor from Bangladesh, and of in the 9 months, her skill, teaching skill, and the way she used to make us understand. Still I recall whatever I learned from her. So here, only thing is that there is no connect. There is no connect. When I put up a paper to the cabinet secretary, then cabinet secretary, who is from my cadre, and we were friends. I told him, sir, just see the India will be lagging behind in the production of the green hydrogen gas. That is the potent answer to the climate change over a period, over a decade or so. The climate trigger natural disasters are increasing, and the globally, the fresh water sources are shrinking. That is a great concern. How when we have to produce 1 liter of green hydrogen gas, we have to burn 11 liter of fresh water. Where is fresh water? Why the government of India, we are not taking measures for the conversion of the grey water into the fresh water? I mean, go to Singapore and Europe. Singapore, they convert it by using many technology, remembrance, filter plant, biochemical, etc., etc. And you go to the 5-star hotel, you see a bottle called new bottle. That is the grey water. So it is a very worrying concern that we may have a first hydrogen taxi in Saudi Arabia in the Neom city, because they have so much of money, desalination plants, so they have fresh water. They have a huge amount of wind. What is required? Wind and fresh water. And so this is only because we are not using our professors, our scientific, our academia in the policy making. So we can talk about again. Thank you.
thank you, Prayasa, for enlightening the audience. Let me, in a minute, if there is no other observation question, we can have during lunch time. Let me say that when you are seeing the data sharing and the open data, so open data, if we talk about satellite data, earlier when we started remote sensing, learning remote sensing 30 years back, so we used to have analog data and we used to buy it, print format, 10,000, 8,000 rupees. But Indian Space Research Organization, NRSE, they have made many of the data, good data, freely available, right? Data from European agency, from US, most of the you get the data with 2025 at no cost. So this is one take. This is one, but still socioeconomic data. What I said, that is one of the most important issue. That is still we are not getting easily, but the agencies in collaboration with government of India, ministry, and other countries, they are doing and putting the data on the open domain. Number one. Number two. Number three. If I talk about this GIAN, the ministry and the government of India is working a lot. This Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji and entire cabinet has done wonderful issues, wonderful things in many of the department and sectors. This is one of it, GIAN. I connected in a way that when I did first GIAN in 2016, yesterday I gave the brief history of the GIAN. In 2016, I was fortunate to get the my proposal approved on ecosystem services, and the professor came from Germany. And at that time, it was the only lecture and record the lecture and put it on CD and send it to the ministry. You know. Now what they have done, they have made very specific guideline. What is happening today is today, and all 5 days it is live streamed, and anyone can see and get benefited of it. So this is another sharing of data. What Alex has showed, wonderful, links and sources of data, CDAC and all. So anyone who is sitting across the world in India and elsewhere, they are getting benefited and they get exposed to, because all cannot come. I cannot induct all 177 participants, those who registered. I selected 66. So that is another way of opening up the resources, and the Ministry of Education, they are putting SWAM, MOOCs and all. That is one very fine um, uh, initiative that is being taken up. So you are not only sharing the my lecture, but you are sharing the data and the source of data from where all and what all can be done. So in this way, slowly coming up, in India also, in many other disciplines, not only in education but also. So, but still, the point remains that it will take some more time to put more data, more and more data on open domain. And to put more data on open domain, you need the issue is that you can put on a cloud server and cloud data. So that will take some time. For that, you need to have huge investment in education. Yes. Yeah. So thank you so much. With this, I think we can finish the session, the second session. We'll break for the lunch for half an hour in the guest house. I suppose the rain is stopped. We have good weather, and then we go to guest house for lunch, and we'll be back at 2 o'clock for the Alex session, and that will be very interesting. I'm sure that that is a yesterday he shared some folders on the Google Drive that we have made for the entire participant. I'm sure that he must have read it, and he's going to be strict that he'll assign some tasks, and then it is a very useful interactive session. Thank you so much.